Hi there everyone, so this is day 2 of our Green Smoothie Challenge, and I really hope that you got off to a great start yesterday. As I said yesterday, it doesn't really matter if you couldn't do the recipe that I did. As long as you tried to get started, that's the main thing. And even if you didn't get started, today's another day and you can have a go. And again, if you don't have all the ingredients, really don't worry about it. One of the main things that I wanted to share with you is just how you put together a green smoothie recipe and how you can really make it your own, provided you've got in ingredients that you really need to make work for you. So today is another, I've got a few more suggestions about what you can do, and maybe, kind of something that you haven't thought about, hopefully. And I have a tip as well. My tip for the day is really, if you're going to juice, probably, and you're pushed for time, what I would suggest you do is juice ahead of time. Juicing, it can be a bit time consuming. It doesn't take that much. It doesn't take that long. It takes a little bit longer than making a smoothie. With a smoothie, you're just throwing everything in a blender. With a juice, you're really juicing vegetables ideally. So it does take a bit longer, and then it takes a bit longer to clean the machine and everything. So what I suggest when it comes to juicing, I mean, it's not optimal nutritionally, but in terms of getting you to use vegetable juice, I think it's a compromise that's okay to make, basically. So if you juice ahead of time, if you batch juice ahead of time, say on Sunday when you've got more time, what you can do is you can put your juice in a freezer bag. And ideally you don't get an enormous freezer bag like I have here. This is a freezer bag that probably, would accommodate juice for an army. So get the right size freezer bag. Juice your vegetable juice. Here I've got ginger juice, which I've added in a very small amount. So it probably is, there's probably too much in there for another juice, but it's just to kind of show you. You need a smaller bag. Get the right size bag, and then juice ahead of time. What you can do is you can put, say, 7 vegetable juices in your freezer, and then take them out the night before, and then they're ready to go. The thing about juice is that it oxidizes very quickly, so you're going to lose your nutrient content quite quickly. But if you freeze immediately after you make it and then defrost, as I've suggested, you've only got 12 hours where you're losing the nutrients, whereas juices that you buy in shops can be lying around for kind of 36 hours or more, in which case you've got very little nutrient content left at all. So there are lots of good reasons to make your own juices and smoothies. That's one of them. And that's how to get over the time factor, really. And the only other thing that I'd say about juices and smoothies, I mean, I've written a blog post about it, and I can link if you want to know a little bit more about it. But really, when it comes to juicing, I would suggest that you probably stick more or less to juicing vegetables. The problem with juicing fruit is that you take out all of the fibre, and if you have a lot of fruit in your juice, you're going to get very big spikes in your blood sugar levels, which is not what you want. So I would stick more or less to juicing vegetables, and then freeze your juice ahead of time, and then you can add your juice to your smoothie as your base. So again, we talked about a base. What's your base? And in this case, that was very slick, leads me on to what my base is for today. And today, I hope to, I want to take you a little bit outside the box. So the base for today is actually a tea. And the tea that I wanted you to use is ashwagandha. And the reason that I wanted you to use it is because ashwagandha has absolutely fabulous properties for supporting the adrenals. And as I've mentioned elsewhere, really quite often problems with the adrenals are where it starts. So we start with elevated cortisol levels. I've gone into it in a lot of detail, but constantly elevated cortisol levels can create havoc for us in terms of our health, long term in terms of our overall hormonal health. And I speak from bitter experience. So ashwagandha is a tea that can be really helpful to balance your adrenals. And also from an Ayurvedic point of view, a few of you will know that not very recently, but for the past year, maybe 2 years, I've become really interested in Ayurveda. And from an Ayurvedic point of view, again, ashwagandha is very good for balancing pitta. And funnily enough, people who have high pitta tend to fry their adrenals, wouldn't you know. So ashwagandha is a really good tea to use, and you can have it just as a tea, but here I'm suggesting that you maybe, again, in terms of preparation ahead, so you maybe make it the night before and then you've got your base for the next day, which is a tea. Unfortunately for me, I couldn't find ashwagandha tea. It's currently out of stock, so I've used ashitaba, which is kind of a similar thing. It doesn't have the same exactly the same properties, but for the purposes of illustration, it's fine here. So what we're talking about in terms of our base and putting together our base is approximately 2 cups of your liquid. So here I've got 2 cups of the ashitaba tea, and that is my base. And what I've added to that is alpha sprouts. And again, you might not have thought sprouts in a smoothie, but why not? So I've added about 1/4 cup of alpha sprouts. Oh, there's my cat trying to get in the action. 1/4 cup of alfalfa sprouts, and the alfalfa sprouts actually have quite a high protein content. So you're going to get a bit of protein there. So if you had your ashwagandha, you're going to have hormone balancing, you're going to have a bit of protein there. I've added lime to it, and as a sweetener, I've added a tablespoon of coconut syrup. And as sweeteners go, coconut syrup is not too bad in terms of a glycemic index, so it's one of the better ones. And you can also use honey. Sweetener is really a bit of a personal preference. Again, if you're struggling from any illnesses that might make you want to avoid sugar totally, I'm afraid it's stevia for you. So that's it. It's really nice, and it's really it's a really the other thing that I've added is that it's quite a refresh. I was going to say it's a light, refreshing smoothie, but the other thing that I've added one other thing to it, because a few of you have said to me that being in northern climates, and given that it's cold, smoothies are a bit of a struggle because you need to be warm, or you need to have a feeling of warmth. The things that you need to add to smoothies to kind of give you that feeling of warmth and comfort are really fats, or something like ginger. So in this case, and that was a ginger juice, glad I reminded myself, I've added a teaspoon of ginger just to warm it up. So the recipe will be available separately, but that's your juice for day 2. If you have another juice that you're using, tell me in the Facebook group how you're getting on with it, how your juice has gone, and if you have any questions, please give me a shout, and we'll chat about any questions that you have. Okay, so that's it for day 2. Good luck. I hope it goes well. Your green smoothie in substitution for your normal breakfast. Let's see how it goes.